This is Beyond the Bell Tower, where an elite group of North Carolina State University students give us a behind-the-scenes look at their steps to success and show us how they attain even their lofty goals. These students, who are in the top 10% of the country, are active in Student Support Services at NC State, a nationally recognized program designed to provide support for low-income, first-generation college students. Nationally, this population has an 11% graduation rate within 6 years. The Student Support Services students surpass that rate each year and go on to become doctors, dentists, accountants, and engineers. They work at Google, Apple, and the NCAA. They have earned PhDs in Ivy League colleges. These students go well beyond the bell tower to reach this level of success.
Esmira, what did you like about Ahmed's presentation? Because his presentation was on investing, or
Right. So I really liked how you put it into perspective why we need to invest, and I really I'd always heard about inflation, but I never actually thought about what a big impact it has on your everyday life and your future goals. I really liked how you didn't sell us like a get-rich-quick scheme. You were just put your money in here, save it, and hold it, and you're guaranteed to get a return on investment. Like, you don't need to buy Bitcoin. You don't need to, buy properties and do all this, fancy stuff. Just, here's the 2 indexes, and put your money in them because they're representative of the whole economy. It was very straightforward. I understood the message very well. And most of all, I really liked your passion. You're a very entertaining speaker. You're very charismatic. I love how you engage with the audience. And I really hope you come back and keep coming back, keep doing these presentations, because I really loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because one of the first times we met was about investing and all of that. So you had a very past history of trying different things of investing. And
For sure.
Yeah. So what would you tell yourself 2 or 3 years ago when you were doing those different investment things from now?
Honestly, even if you don't have the money to invest, you should still use the time to learn about it for when you do. And I still don't think I'm in the position to invest and really do it, because I don't have all my ducks in a row yet with my basic financial security. But I'm still learning. I'm still learning about the stock market. I'm still coming into sessions like Ahmed's session and Wade's session, and never stop learning, because it is such a complicated topic. You could spend a lifetime learning about it, and you still won't know everything. And the laws are always changing. The rules are always changing. And economy is very complex.
Well, and also it's emotional. So with the change of political climates and different climates, and then it's emotional for each individual person. Yeah, and that's what you had said is you can't get emotional, or
that is true.
Figuring out how to manage your emotion around.
I didn't come up with that. Warren Buffett came up with that. That was one of his rules. He said, if you're not willing to lose it, then don't trade it. Don't trade. Don't invest with your rent money. Invest with the money. Invest with your drinking money, because it's going to be gone anyway, so it doesn't matter. Invest with your throwaway play for money. So, that's right.
I think I understood from the very first year that I'm not gonna get rich with my job, with my income. I'm just this is not gonna happen.
Well, you have an engineering degree,
right? And that's
go ahead.
That's considered prestigious, but it's still not millions of dollars, you know. So there has to be another way, and I think the only way we have available to us is through investments. So I'm also trying to get up there. I'm trying to build wealth for my children.
Yeah, generational.
Yeah, generational wealth. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, and it's also, as a first-gen low-income college student, you're used to having 3 jobs, and now you don't want to have to. You want your other income to be you don't have to go to that next job. The stress and strain of having multiple jobs are. And now that you can make money off your money, you don't have to have another job.
For as long as you always have to trade time for money, that's they say time is equal to money. You always be capped at how much money you'll make. Because going to your engineering firm every day, you would know exactly how much money you will make for that day, for that week, for that year, right? But it's only when you try to like venture out and do other things and allow your capital to grow on capital, it's really the compound interest effect that I really hammered home in the beginning. And I think that people don't really take that into consideration. You know, a lot of people put their money into a bank account and they say, oh, it just earned $50 this year. That's new shoe money, you know, but it's like, well, think about it. If you leave that $50 in there, next year it's going to be $75. You see what I'm saying? And it just keeps snowballing and snowballing. And I think that I think Einstein said it was the eighth wonder of the world, compounding interest. I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
Yeah, and human restraint to not spend it, you know?
That's true. That's why some, you know, some things are just, that's why I said you just put it in there. You don't look at it. You just don't worry about it. Because you know you're not going to, if you know you're not going to be bothering it for the next 10, 15 years, you don't need to be checking on it every day. You're just going to stress yourself out with emotions, right?
Yeah, so. I don't know how you were a day trader. I would not be able to do any of that, for sure.
So basically, here's what I would do. I would do my research before, you know, look at the stuff before, and I would set what's called a stop loss. I would know exactly how much money I was willing to lose.
Right.
And then I would set what's called a limit order. Basically was, or this is actually called a stop limit order, where it's like if it hits a certain upper price, then it will automatically sell, right? So usually, so this guy named Adam Koo, he says that you should trade like a casino. Casinos always have odds in their favor of winning every single game, right? So if I think that a stock is going to go up by 3% on the day, then I'm not going to risk more than 1.5% of my money. Does that make sense?
So every risk was calculated.
Right.
Okay.
So really, that does you in. That is what will do you in investing. It's not your wins, it's your losses. People don't know when to cut their losses because it's an ego thing. Oh, it's gonna go back up. It's gonna go back up, and they have this hope. Which I'm not saying you shouldn't have hope, but it's like, don't have hope.
Well, it's one of those things like with the gambling. It's like, do you double down or not?
Yeah. Like I went to Vegas and I won $10 overall. And then I lost, the first day I won like 20, the second day I lost 60. Then like the third day I won like 80 back. And then I was up like $10 and I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. There's no reason for me to keep going. So, yeah. But it's great.
Yes. Anything else, Esmira, with the presentation with Ahmed? We talked a lot, so no pressure. But
we did talk a lot. No, I think it was very thorough. The compounding interest was, like, I think a great addition. Because like people, I guess, don't really understand why their money goes up. And that was...
Yeah, I was going to say, too, for other students, like attending workshops, it's like when those workshops are done by TRIO students or, you know, former TRIO students, the power of that.
Oh, for sure. So, like, the reason I was like, I'm gonna go pay you a visit when, like, I get my job was because, like, when you TRIO, like, I feel like I trust you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think you're going to
be shady.
Yeah, I don't think you can be shady to, like, your fellow TRIO student. Like, you know where I'm coming from. You know what we all went through. So, I definitely have more trust, just implicitly, because we're all in this kind of in the same boat. Like, we come from different places and cultures, and we have different lives growing up.
But we sing the same song, different place, same song. But
And I think a lot of people, like, even if they're not explicitly like, I'm gonna make money, they're still ambitious. Like, I feel like everyone here is very ambitious, and they still want to do great things with their college education and their life. So I think you're gonna understand my ambition. So I'm gonna go see you.
Well, and that's the emotion,
story.
You know, of the value of money growing up, and the emotion of money, you know, through that whole process of not having enough.
Right.
And then now investing is like, how are you going to explain that to, like, say, an investment firm?
Right.
Can you explain your emotions, or, you know, that's different. Of never having money before.
Oh God, I'm so glad you brought that up. When I got my internship this summer, and it was the first time in my life when I was making like like a good amount of money. Like I was working 40 hours a week, making $17 an hour, which is more than I ever made in my life. And I had too much money in my checking account, and I got very suspicious because I already saved, I already put everything away. I'm like, why is there still that amount in there? What am I supposed to do with this? Right? And right. I was very suspicious for like the first 2 months. Like something's gonna go wrong. Like there's no way that people just have hundreds of dollars in their checking account. So you have to get used to it. You have to get used to having a surplus, because when you live in the deficit for most of your life, you just act like you're always gonna be in the deficit. So once you have a surplus, I think like the instinct might be to just take it out and put it in your mattress, because like something's bad's gonna happen, and you know it will, because it has before so many times. So that's another adjustment I'm making, because like I'm good right now, and it's been the first year in college where I haven't been struggling. And that's still an adjustment.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
I mean, it is a mindset though. It's a different kind of in philosophy they call it like a paradigm shift, right? Whereas you're thinking one way, but you realize if you keep continuing to think that way, then your thoughts will become your actions, and your actions will become your habits, and your habits will basically become your lifestyle. So if you always think you don't have it, then you'll never strive to do more. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that I'm seeing nowadays, that I know a lot of people are very ambitious. They want to run the race, they want to do all the things that they want. They have the life goals. I want to buy my mom a car, I want to buy my mom a house, but they don't know how to do it. So what they end up doing is they end up running the rat race. They say, oh, I need more money, I'm going to get a second job that pays $11 an hour, right? When in reality,
and that's before taxes.
And that's before taxes. So, that time, that $11 an hour that they're, that 15 hours a week that they're spending at a job, they may generate a little bit of more money for it, but that time could be better off spent studying to make them $40 an hour in the next position. But it's hard for some people to see long term because they've been in a deficit. And when you're in a deficit for so long, you don't think long term. You think tomorrow.
Exactly.
I got to eat tonight. What can I do tonight so I can eat? So I do understand that. I understand that completely.
Yeah, and you know how to apply for like a low wage job. Like you know how to walk into a food, restaurant and get a job. But then investing, it's so scary, and you don't know how to do it. So sometimes it's like, well, I know how to get a part-time job. Like I even know how to manage to fit that in my life. Like I can do that. I've done that before. But then when you say no, invest, it's like scary, or I've never known anybody to invest.
Right. That's like a rich people thing. Like that's what my mom thinks it is. Like if I ever bring it up, she's like, just don't mess with that rich people stuff.
My mom told me the same thing. She's like, why would you do that? Why won't you just go out and get a safe job and stuff like that? And I was like, because safety doesn't bring like you an exciting life. It just brings you an average life, which is fine. But
How did you first learn about investing?
So I was in Sociology 203, which is actually a really good class, and we were talking about the 2008 financial crisis, and the teacher was like really like bashing the people who made money during that time. The professor, she was like, these people are awful, like they made millions of dollars while people lost their homes. And that was a terrible moment. I'm not making light of that situation. I think I mentioned that in the thing. That was a terrible moment. But if you ask yourself, if you go back, if you could go back and reinvest, or if you could go back and live 2007 over again, what side would you be on? And I asked myself that question, what side would I be on? Because my football coach always used to say, Ahmed, either you're going to be the hammer or you're going to be the nail. Which one do you want to be? And I don't want to be the nail. So, and so, I understood, what actually happened, and I think that some of her views were misguided, but ultimately, through the 2008 recession, financial crisis, I learned about markets, and I learned about how people were making money, and not that it was easy, but that anyone could do it if you just had the mindset of, I just want to learn a little bit more about this, right? So it was really just through a class, and at the time I was in a business. I was in my own online marketing business, and so the main idea of that business was not to trade your time for money, right? It's to create an asset that will work for you as you're out creating other assets. Basically, the idea was don't be a cashier, make a vending machine, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So instead of you being a cashier, you standing there working limited, make some vending machines. And then you just come back and collect the money later. That was the idea of that business. And so then I took that idea and I branched it with this investing idea. And I said, I think I might have something here because I enjoy doing it. It's the lifestyle that I want. I don't want to work 40 hours a week. I don't like 9 to 5. I don't like sitting in traffic. Oh my gosh, I hate driving to work with traffic in the morning. So,
because how was money talked about in your family, like growing up or working?
It was very scarce. I mean, like just being, just completely, candid and vulnerable. I think my mom, she might have made around $16,000 with 3 kids, which is, that's, you can't even live on that by yourself. And then, I mean, on a good year, it was $18,000. Woo, but so with that kind of mindset, it was government assistance, not the best neighborhoods, people not necessarily wanting to do better, but just kind of like more complacent. So, the money was very scarce. And I come from a place where it's like, you didn't do extra, you just did kind of just enough to get by because everyone was so afraid to do anything extra because, like you mentioned earlier, living in that deficit, that mindset of, I gotta eat tonight. What can I do to eat tonight? And so, I told myself that if I have to starve a couple nights in order for me to eat a steak later, I'll do that instead of eating ramen every night. Like this week, this is the 3rd day of this previous week. I was up 3 days out of this week past 5 o'clock in the morning. Last night I was up past 5 o'clock. I went to bed this morning at 7 o'clock.
Doing what?
Studying.
Oh, for your tests?
I mean, studying for my test, but I mean, it's like, people are like, well, why are you doing that? It's like, just go to bed. It's like, really, think about this for a second. A 3-hour nap, 3-4 hour nap versus hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future.
Yeah. So actually, what are you studying for? Because you've already graduated.
I've already graduated. I'm studying for the SIE exam, which is a preliminary exam before you take your Series 7 and Series 66, which is basically your stockbroker's license and so you can do like insurance and other things like that. So,
what's the pass rate for those? Do you need to study as much as you do, or are you over preparing?
So, I mean, it's a little bit of both. I got a couple days behind because I was traveling. I think the pass rate for the SIE is around 70%. But the thing with these exams is the SIE, anyone can take it as long as you're over 18. But for the licensing exams, like stockbrokers, like Series 7, you have to be sponsored by a corporation or a company. You just can't go and take it. And my company sponsored me. So that's why it's really important that I pass these exams because I just can't. It's not like I can just go and be like, 2 months I'll take it on my own. I can't do that.
Right.
You have to be sponsored. Right. My employer is sponsoring these things. So anytime they're willing to give me training, I'm willing to take it.
So they provide you with training to help you pass the test too.
Yep, and it's paid training. So you know how that is. You get as much training as you can from your job, and then.
Yeah, because that's like an investment to you because then you can get a higher paying job or a better job.
That's true.
Yeah, from
That's
there.
true. And I think a lot of people too negate that, they want $1 million salary with a $10 an hour work ethic. It's like you can't have both. You can't either you're gonna work hard for it and make yourself more valuable, or you're gonna be people. How can I say this? You can't have $1 million work ethic and make $10 an hour. To a certain degree, you can't. So
you don't mind? I like hearing his story.
Who needed to hear Ahmed 2 years from now or couldn't come to the conference?
Oh, I see.
And so here's this wealth of information and genius and experience, perspective. I mean, I think that's too with real students. It's like this perspective that you can't. It's
that experience, I think, of having to figure things out. At least that's what it was for me.
Okay, yeah, because you have lived experience, then you have that ambition, that goal setting, kind of an enthusiasm about it. I'm gonna do this, and I think about this all day long. This is an emotional thing that I'm committed to. and committed to it in a compassionate way. Again, like you said, I want to buy my mom a house. I want to, and that's what, when we do interviews, it's like, what are your top 3 goals of life? You know, in every trio interview, at least 2 of those have to do with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, or just have to do with like, I just don't want to worry anymore. You know, so it's like this kind of compassionate way of doing it. And then you have intelligence. So I think it's like you can't have a level of intelligence without that lived experience and that ambition. So you're always taking in and learning and like mediating it in your head, like, what does this mean? Where you don't show up and just like, yeah, like I've never had to worry about anything. Because at an 18-year-old, I don't know if you sense this in your peer group, but you can tell the people who've never had to, you know, it's just almost like kind of this like lazy.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Because I've seen that a lot too.
And that impacts intelligence, like, because you're not, like, they're not absorbing what you're absorbing.
We also have like a sense of urgency that I don't see in a lot of other people.
Yes.
Like there's a sense of urgency, like there are people counting on me to get through this.
True.
And like make something out of myself because they'll benefit. You know, like I have a little brother and he's 13 and he's gonna I'm gonna make sure he goes to college, right? And I want him to be able to call me up whenever he's having problems with his bills and I can like help him out.
Right.
True.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about my little brother, you know, my mom. I mean, my mom's sick, so at some point she's not gonna be able to work. So I'm thinking about her. So there's like a sense of urgency that you have that other people might not, where they can just be like, you know, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
I got time.
Yeah, and that's what I think as a person, like as a human being, I am attracted more, like, or invigorate, like, I benefit from that person who has a motivation to do something and it's for somebody else too. I mean, it's like coming from like a very personal place rather than somebody who's just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll just, you know, I don't know.
I'll just go with the flow.
Yeah. And so it's like with the maturity. Like you have the maturity of having to make decisions yourself, like decide on goals, figure out what you have to do. You're not sitting there going, oh, I wonder what I should do, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you think the difference is, like, say, even with your colleagues at work? Have you noticed a difference between?
So all my stuff now is just working from home.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, I know. But with, I guess, like, but with my old, because most of the people that, my only other experience was in my IT position here at State, and I worked with the HR office, the business office. So basically, people who are like all older than me, married, and all established. You know what I mean? So, but I guess with people like my age per se, they don't necessarily think about the longevity of things. You know, they think more short-sighted, where it's like, you know, basically, there's a saying in my hometown where it goes, you don't sell a car for gas money, right? And that's kind of what they do, right? Where it's like, or you put the wagon before the put the wagon before the horse, and so
you don't sell your car for gas money,
right?
Yeah, I just want to make sure those clear.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you know, you just make sure that you have to have some kind of plan. You know, I don't like doing stuff without knowing the plan, like knowing what I'm going to get into. Everything I'm not going to be able to plan, of course, but you know, to a certain degree, it's like my day is usually planned out, and I have friends who are like, why do you spend so much time planning? It's because my time is valuable, right? So like,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
telling
for
people
sure.
no all the time, like I can't do this.
Well, that's like we have a couple of students, former students, and then obviously there's a lot of people that do it, but where like they are their income. Like my worth, if you want me to come speak to your company, I am worth this much. If you want me to consult, you want me to come and help you out or, you know, whatnot, you pay me this much. Like I have a value, and I have a number value, like a dollar value. And I think that's the thing too, is figuring that out. Like say when you're doing consulting or advising, is like how much, what's the worth of your knowledge?
Right.
and what's the worth of even your experience and how you deal with a client and what you can do for a client. And that's hard sometimes to figure out. But that's where you can say, I have a value, like my mind, my, you know, what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, I'm worth this amount. Yep. So I've definitely done that before, especially in my last position, because I was making, as a student, I was making $12 an hour, right? I mean, as a student, it's not bad, right? But then I asked my boss, I was like, hey, you know, like, I'm gonna be full-time. Well, I kind of already working full-time, like, as a student. But I was like, you know, I'm basically, like, I'm just gonna be here full-time working. You know, can I get a raise? And, like, we need, you know, talk about this. And basically, I was able to get that $12 raise bumped up to $19 an hour. Right, so that was a pretty successful, you know, that was a pretty...
Can you talk to my boss? You tell me what to say?
Let's do it. Let's sit down and, you know, let's look at the hours you work and, you know, let's look at the cost benefit of time spent, you know. I mean, that's, I don't know how it is, but, you know, when there's a you know, when there's a will, there's a way. You know, I don't know how to put it. You just fight for the things you want, and that's one thing that I will always do. I'll always ask. People say you ask for too much stuff, but all you need is 25% of them to get yeses. Yep. You know, for some things.
I admire that. That's what I'm trying to work on. Is that, like, I'm trying to get that confidence because I didn't have that much of it, like, growing up. So I'm trying to, like, build it, like, know your worth and stuff.
Because, like, how did you feel at your internship? Because were you with all engineers? Or what was your internship?
Yes, but I did not negotiate because I was, like, just so desperate to have a position. And you need one before you graduate, or you're not gonna, like, no firm's gonna pick you up because we're such a small specialty. So I didn't negotiate. Now that you say that, I wish I did, because they just said 17 an hour, and I'm like, okay, I'm just happy to get it.
And that's for our first position, that's okay. You know, so the next one, if they offer 17, it's like, no, I'm more now worth 19, 21, because...
I had a company that offered me 21, right? And I turned it down. I said no, because sometimes it's not even so much about the money, it's about the work environment. Working at State is easy. Like, this is the easiest job I ever had. Like, at least for me it was. For me, at least, and depending on what you do, it can be super easy. My job was really easy because I only work with administration. I didn't work with students, rarely work with professors, right? So most things didn't really break. So with that being said, I was making 19 an hour basically to do 2 hours of work a day. Now, am I gonna go to another company making 21 an hour that's further away from my home, where I have to work 6 hours a day? No, do actual 6 hours of work. That's what I'm saying. So sometimes a higher salary doesn't really matter, depending on how much you're working, but what did I do
and what you value, right? But what did it feel like in that work environment for you, Esmira?
Oh my God. So engineering is a very male, old white man field. Very much. I think I'm like the youngest person in my office. I'm 23. Like, there's only one other intern, and she's a communications intern, so she's not even doing engineering work. And it's a regional office, so it's like 4 floors.
Should be,
four floors. There should be a lot more diversity. There should be a lot more, interns and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, there's not gonna be like, this is my way to get in. There's not gonna be another position that opens up. Y'all don't hire that much. I noticed. I think also, like, if you're coming from a background, like, you're a person of color, you're from an underprivileged background, you're a woman in engineering or something, like,
you're underrepresented in, like, so many ways.
Wherever you are, you know, like, it's hard to get that confidence because no one, like, taught it to me, you know, like, you have to teach it to yourself. And, like, I'm trying to study other people that are like that. Like, I'm trying to study how confident the dudes are in the office, just going up to their boss and asking for days off and stuff like that. So I think I'm trying to learn, but then there is always that risk that how am I being perceived? But that's like, I don't know. I heard finance isn't that diverse either. So I'm sure everybody like struggles with that in whatever field you go to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and the higher, I mean,
for sure.
it's just, yeah.
I was just happy to have a foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, just keep it open and open it wider.
TRIO Student Support Services Program and Student Support Services STEM are federally funded college retention and completion programs. These programs focus on academic, personal, and career support for under-resourced undergraduate students. At TRIO SSS and SSS STEM, our goal is helping our students reach their goals. We are currently accepting new students to our program. Apply today. Go to www.ncsu.edu to learn more about student support services at NC State.